At the end of a long private road, hidden behind rows of overgrown trees, stands a mansion that was built to be seen. Even now, after more than 20 years, it still commands attention. From a distance, it looks untouched. The stone exterior hasn't crumbled. The windows aren't shattered. The roofline remains perfectly symmetrical against the sky. It still looks expensive. But silence has replaced everything it was designed to hold. The circular driveway curves slowly toward the entrance, wrapping around a dry fountain that hasn't held water in years. The basin is stained dark from rain and time. Fine cracks run through the concrete where weeds now push upward with quiet determination. Nothing here collapsed suddenly. It simply stopped being maintained. The front doors are massive, solid hardwood, reinforced with decorative ironwork. They were crafted to feel permanent. To feel secure. When they open, the sound is low and reluctant. Like something disturbed from a long sleep. Inside, the scale overwhelms you first. A two-story foyer stretches upward into shadow. Marble floors reflect faint daylight filtering through tall arched windows. A grand staircase curves upward in flawless symmetry, its railing carved with deliberate detail. Above it hangs a chandelier, layered in dust, but still intact. Hundreds of crystal pieces suspended in stillness. It was meant to scatter warm light across polished stone floors. Now it hangs in silence. Your footsteps echo sharply. In an empty house, even the smallest sound feels amplified. The absence of furniture movement, conversation, or background noise makes the space feel larger than it already is. To the right, the formal living room remains arranged with careful precision. Matching sofas face each other across an ornate wooden table. Decorative pillows are placed evenly. Framed mirrors hang straight against the walls. Near the tall window sits a grand piano. Its glossy black surface is coated in a thin layer of gray dust. When one key is pressed, the note vibrates unevenly, slightly out of tune. It lingers longer than expected. Because there is nothing here to soften it. Nothing to absorb it. This room wasn't vandalized. Nothing is overturned. Nothing is missing. It looks staged. As if someone expected to return at any moment. The kitchen tells the same story. Custom cabinetry stretches to the ceiling. Marble countertops remain smooth and cold. Stainless steel appliances reflect a room that never fully functioned. The drawers are empty. The refrigerator is unplugged, left slightly open, intentionally, to prevent decay. Someone thought ahead. Someone prepared this house to sit. Upstairs, the air feels heavier. The master suite occupies an entire wing of the house. Double doors open into a bedroom large enough to dwarf most apartments. A carved stone fireplace anchors one wall. Balcony doors overlook 5 private acres of land that have grown wilder over time. But the bed is gone. Only the frame remains. The walk-in closet is completely empty. Not disorganized. Not half-cleared. Completely bare. It doesn't feel rushed. It feels deliberate. Further down the hallway, a guest bedroom remains partially furnished. A desk sits beneath a tall window. A lamp rests on the nightstand. Inside the top drawer are a few scattered papers and an old wall calendar. September. The page was never turned. In another bedroom, the details grow stranger. A single chair sits in the corner facing the window. The carpet shows faint impressions where heavier furniture once stood, now removed. The absence becomes more noticeable than presence. Downstairs, the private office feels like the emotional center of the house. Floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves line the walls, empty now. A large mahogany desk faces an arched window overlooking the property. On its surface rests a single pen and a thin stack of unopened envelopes. Dust has gathered around them. This was a room of decisions. Where contracts were signed. Where expansion plans were reviewed. Where risk felt manageable. Public records show the property was completed in the early 2000s, during one of the most aggressive periods of real estate expansion in modern history. Banks approved loans quickly. Developers scaled projects larger each year. Luxury homes became statements of confidence. And this house was a statement. Nearly 18,000 square feet. 5 private acres. Imported marble. Custom woodwork. Chandeliers sourced from Europe. Every detail chosen to project permanence. But permanence depends on momentum. And momentum can shift overnight. When the housing market began to tighten, it didn't happen gradually. Financing stalled. Investors withdrew. Projects froze mid-construction across the country. Developers who had expanded aggressively found themselves carrying more debt than liquidity. Confidence became exposure. And properties like this, once symbols of success, became liabilities. But financial downturn alone doesn't explain what this house feels like. Because there are no signs of desperation here. No foreclosure notices left behind. No evidence of forced removal. No chaotic exit. Instead, there is order. Intentional emptiness. The ballroom may be the most striking space in the mansion. Marble floors stretch across an enormous open hall. Decorative plaster ceilings remain flawless. Massive arched windows frame the surrounding land. This room was built for gatherings. For weddings. For galas. For celebrations under crystal light. But no event was ever held here. The chandeliers were installed. But never switched on. As late afternoon light begins to fade, shadows stretch across the marble floors. The size of the house begins to feel heavier, not grand, but hollow. Large spaces demand energy. Without it, they feel unfinished. And that's when the realization settles in. This house doesn't feel abandoned in panic. It feels abandoned in pause. As if at some point, someone believed the setback was temporary. As if they thought they would return when conditions improved. But improvement never came quickly enough. And eventually, time did what markets could not. It made absence permanent. Standing once more in the foyer, beneath the silent chandelier, one question lingers. Was this mansion left behind because the numbers stopped working? Or because the dream that built it collapsed under its own weight? Outside, the sun dips below the trees. The windows darken. And the house, still standing, still impressive, fades slowly into silhouette. The gates never reopened. But the deeper you look, the more it feels like this house wasn't simply abandoned. It was left unfinished. And in part 2, the details that were overlooked during the day begin to feel far more unsettling at night. Night changes the house. During the day, its size feels impressive. At night, it feels aware. From the outside, the mansion still looks powerful. The columns cast long shadows across the driveway. The roofline cuts sharply against the sky. Moonlight reflects faintly in tall windows that haven't been cleaned in years. It still looks expensive. But now it feels distant. Inside, the silence thickens. The foyer that once felt grand now feels cavernous. The chandelier above catches faint light but doesn't sparkle anymore. Its crystals hang motionless, untouched by movement or heat. Large homes are designed for sound, for conversation bouncing off walls, for footsteps overlapping, for music drifting from one room to another. Without those things, the acoustics become unsettling. Every movement echoes. Every breath feels amplified. The indoor pool room is colder than the rest of the house. The basin has been empty for years, its tiles cracked by temperature shifts and neglect. Leaves have gathered along the edges where wind slips in through a slightly open upper panel. Water once filled this space. You can see the faint line along the walls where it used to sit. It wasn't abandoned mid-construction. It functioned. For a while. Which means someone stood here once. Someone swam beneath the skylights. Someone believed this house would be permanent. But permanence requires maintenance. And maintenance requires presence. In the private theater, rows of leather recliners remain aligned with perfect symmetry. A massive projection screen stretches across the wall. The surround sound speakers still hang in the corners. A remote control rests on the arm of the center seat. As if someone paused a movie. And simply never pressed play again. The gym tells the same quiet story. High-end treadmills face mirrored walls. Weight machines stand ready, untouched. Dust has settled lightly across digital displays that once measured miles, calories, progress. Now they measure time. The deeper you walk into the mansion, the more it feels suspended, not decaying rapidly, but existing in slow retreat. Outside, nature has begun claiming the edges. The tennis court behind the house is fractured by determined weeds. The once manicured hedges have grown uneven and wild. The fountain remains dry, its stone darkened by rainfall and neglect. Nature does not rush. It replaces. Over the years, this property briefly resurfaced on luxury real estate listings. The price was adjusted downward multiple times. Investors toured the space. Developers calculated renovation costs. But the numbers were heavy. Restoration would require millions, updating systems hidden behind walls, repairing damage caused by years without climate control, modernizing a design frozen in the early 2000s. Demolition was considered. But destroying a mansion of this scale would erase more than square footage. It would erase a symbol. So the house remains suspended between options. Too valuable to ignore. Too expensive to revive. Too symbolic to destroy. And that suspension is what makes it unsettling. Because failure has an ending. Bankruptcy closes files. Foreclosures transfer ownership. Demolition clears land. But this house never reached a clean conclusion. It lingers. In the study, moonlight filters through tall windows and stretches across the empty shelves. The desk remains in place. The unopened envelopes still sit undisturbed. This room once carried certainty. Forecasts that projected upward. Plans that assumed continuation. But markets are not loyal. And ambition, when built on momentum alone, can collapse quietly. Luxury homes are constructed with the illusion of permanence. Imported marble. Reinforced steel. Hand-carved details meant to outlast generations. But what they cannot withstand is absence. Without climate control, wood warps. Without upkeep, stone dulls. Without people, even the grandest architecture begins to feel fragile. As midnight settles deeper, the mansion feels less like a property and more like a monument. Not to wealth. But to timing. To expansion that moved too quickly. To confidence that assumed stability. To a dream that was calculated, but not protected. The gates were never dramatically sealed. They just stopped opening. And after more than 20 years, the house no longer feels like it's waiting for revival. It feels like it has accepted its role. A reminder that scale does not equal security. That luxury does not guarantee longevity. That ambition, without caution, can build something magnificent, and still leave it empty. From the road, the mansion still commands attention. It still photographs beautifully. It still appears powerful beneath the night sky. But inside, the silence tells the truth. The ballroom never heard applause. The chandeliers never illuminated celebration. The driveway never filled with arriving guests. This house wasn't destroyed by disaster. It wasn't vandalized by chaos. It wasn't reclaimed by urgency. It was left behind. And sometimes, that is the most unsettling ending of all. Because nothing dramatic happened here. No headlines. No crime scene. No visible collapse. Just a dream built at full speed. And abandoned when the momentum stopped. After 20 years, the mansion no longer feels like a home waiting to be saved. It feels like a chapter that was never finished. And the most unsettling part? Somewhere, the person who built this place still knows it's standing. Still knows the lights were never turned back on. Still knows the gates never reopened. And still chooses not to return.